Pacific office while they've been here, and Arsenal a big fan favorite in this area. With Janusz Mihalik, Mike Watts, here are the first half highlights. Teams meeting at midfield. We skip forward to the 13th minute. Aubameyang finding Ozil at the back post.
Yeah, great execution really on the break. You could see that just an invitation for Mesut Ozil to put that one away. Aubameyang using his pace, of course. Just quick look right over his shoulder or next to him. Who's making a run? He knew Ozil was going to be there. He puts that away. Captain for the night, right, which is significant, I think. Unai Emery doing a good job with everything that's going around Mesut Ozil. I thought it was a very, very good touch for him. He's certainly taken advantage of that. And he's been relatively good. Good first half for Arsenal. First 10 to 15 minutes, it was all about PSG, wasn't it? I mean, they looked the team. They looked the better team, but Arsenal just waited to establish their rhythm, and from then on, they controlled the first 45 minutes. As you'd expect, a much stronger lineup for Arsenal than there is for Paris Saint-Germain.
Let's take a look at our Ally first half stats. As Arsenal a 1-goal advantage over PSG and a significant advantage in possession, despite the fact at times that they played rather direct.
Yeah, that's about right for Arsenal. We saw that in their first match against Atletico Madrid as well. I almost think I liked it, but this is a little bit closer because we certainly saw a little bit different stuff for Arsenal. Maybe this is what Unai Emery wanted. Maybe it's just a coincidence. But they set back early on, and then were pretty direct for the most part in the last 20-25 minutes, which was a little bit different and, quite frankly, effective for Arsenal.
How about this young man? What an incredible first half he put together. Some real precision. We see some of the substitutes being made at the halftime.
Yeah. Matteo Guendouzi has been impressive. No questions about that. Aaron Ramsey on the substitutes bench, and Lacazette. So still plenty to go to for Unai Emery, although at this stage of the preseason for Arsenal, doesn't look to me like there are any changes, because you want to build that fitness ahead of the season. So I'm sure these players are going to get another 15-20 minutes before we see changes. And then I'm going to have fun looking at you when there's 6, 7, 8 players coming in, and you try to scramble to figure out who's in, who's out. I'll be doing the same thing, but I have the benefit of additional minute or two, Mike.
Yeah.
So have fun with that.
Well, these jerseys are great when you see them in person. Really, really nice up close.
It's all good. It's all good.
PSG putting out these new jerseys that were roundly criticized as being Real Madrid light.
Well, if they play like Real Madrid, I don't think anyone will mind.
So a couple changes there at halftime, including Iwobi coming off in his return after playing with Nigeria at the World Cup. One of the favorites for fans. One of the dark horses everyone seemed to get behind. Away up. Saw at halftime. What an incredible story. Do you know who your dad is?
Not always the best thing, right? I mean, you look at the situation, on one hand it could be positive, on the other hand negative, because the pressure comes in. There's nothing that Tim Weah can do that people will bring his father's name up. Obviously, different people, different players.
This is Basso, 17 years old, just signed his first professional contract. 3-year deal this month. And Ned lost it. Will come to Jarjon. We saw Buffon go about 60, 70 minutes last game, PSG in this tournament. Nkunku shifted away only for a moment. Jarjon floats this too far. And Soki.
A little bit surprised not to see Jarjon and in particular Nkunku switch. Nkunku, I think, a little bit more effective on the right-hand side. At least he was in that first game against Bayern Munich, and it happens anyway, right? With white players that sometimes on their own they'll switch. Obviously, they're listening to their manager. They're young players. He wants them to stay where they are right now. But I just think Nkunku is a little bit more effective and more dangerous on the right-hand side. Alexandre Lacazette in for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang.
Diarra at the side, and there's Ramsey, of course.
Yeah, Ramsey's in, and actually, see, I told you it was going to take a while for us to figure out. Aubameyang may still be there.
Yeah, he's playing on that left.
That's what we saw in the first game. That's something that obviously Unai Emery wants to try, and it was, as we saw in the first game, they were switching within the game anyway from time to time, so also in a little bit higher position. And Ramsey, a big season for him. Contract negotiations going on. I wonder what's going to happen. Just 12 months left on his contract. He has been a very important player of this Arsenal squad.
And Nkunku. Impressive opening half for PSG. Tufiki. There's the turn. Rabiot. This will bounce in front. And way up. Little push from behind. Goes down easily. Aubameyang couldn't continue forward for PSG. Aubameyang through for way up.
Yeah, so by the looks of it, no El Nani. That's where Ramsey comes in. No.
Oh, that's a foul from Guendouzi. Difficult position on the field to defend.
Guendouzi just misjudging that, and you can see always reaching for that one, going for the ball, but missed it.
And Soki's the man behind the ball. 1 year left on his trainee contract. Whether or not he decides to return has been a point of contention. It's part of why Arsenal's been rumored to be looking. Of course, a guy that Unai Emery knows quite well from having managed the organization his last couple of years. Could be a good moment to stamp his imprint in Arsenal minds. The rip is steered aside. That's Martinez who came in off the bench. He parries it with one hand. And a chance to counter for Arsenal. Tugged from behind. It's a foul in transition. Aubameyang.
Yeah, Lassana Diarra probably going to get booked on this one because he knew he was beaten. You could see Lacazette initiating that, finding Aubameyang and his pace as well. And Lacazette immediately on his bike, probably hoping that he's going to get there. Nkunku here, and yeah, that's one that he has to save. The footwork, read it early. Yeah, plenty of power, but you can see strong hands there from Martinez.
Was Nkunku the French U21 player? Diarra, rightfully so, yellow card. But given the nature of this tournament, and given the fact he probably won't go the full 90, I'm not sure that that's all that much of a penalty for him. Nkunku. Bypassing Bernard. Berned ricochets. Rabiot, advantage played. Well, not nearly that much advantage. And now PSG, it's a foul the other way. Ramsey flying down.
He's done well, winning that ball initially. All right, you look at this, a little bit of a hold. Well, that's good. And then using his body well. That's the idea, to get yourself in between the ball and the player. And Kunku had no choice but run into him, really. More of a Ramsey doing it than anything else, right? That's smart. You know that pressure's going to come, so you just want to get yourself in front, protect the ball that way.
Paris Saint-Germain began last year 15 unbeaten in League One. They ended up on 93 points by the time the season was over. They conceded 14 less than their nearest competitor. They scored 21 more their nearest competitor, and still Unai Emery wasn't retained. This ball lobbed over the top. Weah's onside. Weah, tight angle. Martinez ain't gotten a touch to that on its way out.
Look at this over the top once again. Socrates looking at the assistant referee. Remember that time in the first half as well. I'm just not sure you can look at that play to the whistle, because Socrates has been beaten over the top on a couple occasions, and certainly not the most pacey defender.
Nkunku. Header is cleared away from the line by Mustafi. Rabiot's been large in charge in this half. Rabiot flex down, and Martinez is off his line. He was a standby for the 2018 World Cup, or well, he could have been. Ended up sending an email saying that he didn't feel he could follow through on the program.
Yeah, not sure if that's the right decision. Be very much interested what Thomas Tuchel thought about that, right? I mean, he said since that he really wants him to stay. There's so much talk about him perhaps leaving Barcelona, comes up here, but Didier Deschamps certainly not happy with that. And for a young player, I don't think it was a right decision for him to make.
We saw a couple of those kind of instances over the course of the World Cup. Players that didn't want to come on and sub. Players that didn't want to be on the standby list.
Always silly.
Yeah.
Especially when you're young. You never know. Didier Deschamps may be staying, and the fact that he doesn't like it, I'm not saying that he's not going to give him a second chance, but if he holds that grudge, then maybe Rabiot won't be able to play for his country. And
what a shame.
Did you mention that they were the World Cup champions? Didier Deschamps seemed to be right in everything he's done so far.
History would say that means they're going out in the group stage in Qatar.
No, not happening.
No?
Just a coincidence. Don't believe in these statistics and history and all of that.
Ozil. Really tight quarters, the return. Take it away, and Jean-Jean out to touch. Ozil's come in with some flashy skill.
Yeah, almost too intricate, forcing the issue just a little bit.
Mesut Ozil. At the byline, he'll stay in play. And Doozy foul. Squadale.
Well, Guendouzi once again showing a lot of composure, right? Didn't panic in that situation. Didn't look like he had a lot of options. You can see all the white jerseys around him, and still looking for that pass, and gets caught there. A little bit of a cliff from Rabiot.
Rabiot with the team going back to 2012 was brought up by Carlo Ancelotti. Initially, Buffon trying to set this up. Going to be called upon for more of the spectacular. He's so well known for it. Mesut Ozil. Socrates. The International Champions Cup is presented by Heineken. Open your world. Enjoy responsibly. 59th minute from the National Stadium in Singapore. And Weah, the U.S. international.
Penalty.
It's a goal kick. Nothing there. At least at first glance.
It's a penalty.
Yeah.
I think the assistant referee had to intervene there. Although I'm not sure what the referee was showing. I thought he was showing a goal kick, but for me, that was a penalty. Tim Weah against Kolasinac right there as he takes that touch inside. And you can see that left foot sliding. Just catches Timothy Weah, or at least it looks that way to me. Yeah, just enough. Right decision.
Well, maybe Thomas Tuchel was the one who
well, they always do that,
turned the
right?
tide.
I mean,
yeah. Well, it is a penalty indeed. Christopher Nkunku. Maybe a big moment for Martinez. Came on at halftime in between the sticks. Nkunku scores. Well, PSG's leveled it right before the hour mark.
Yeah, well taken. Leaves absolutely no doubt. Plenty of power. Of course, Martinez going the other way, taking full advantage of a good job done on that right-hand side by Timothy Weah. Absolutely outstanding. That's what you want players to do. When in isolation, take players one-on-one, right? Didn't have a lot of room to deal with. Perhaps where he was going, he was always going to square it. And look at Nkunku stepping into this. Oh, well taken.
Sends Emiliano Martinez the wrong way. And Nkunku has responded right before the 60-minute mark. Also the initial goal. And we're on level terms with half an hour to go. So Tim Weah able to draw the penalty.
It's good for him, making an impact, no questions about that. Of course, scoring the goal in that first game against Bayern Munich. A good goal, by the way, because showing a little bit of strength in that one. One-on-one with a defender on him, plenty of pressure, composed finish in that game. Even though it was a losing effort for Tim Weah, it was a pretty good outing, and so far he's been lively. Hasn't been really special, to be fair, but he gets the ball, he keeps it simple. And in that situation, that always leaves an impression on a manager, right? Because that's what you want to see from Timothy Weah. You want him to engage that player. You want him to show his dribbling ability, his pace. Caught by his defender rather easily. Drew a penalty. So, yeah, it leaves an impression. What that means, I'm not sure I know. Obviously, to look at Cavani and Mbappe and Neymar, not easy. But if that means that he's in the mind of Thomas Tuchel for some reason, at some stage in the season, it's probably not a bad thing for him.
You think about players for both these teams, some of them playing 70 matches last year. So whether you're Cavani or Mbappe or Neymar, there's going to be opportunities for a guy like Weah along the way.
Who knows? And maybe the best opportunity for him would be to be loaned out somewhere. He gets plenty of minutes. I'm just saying that Thomas Tuchel, for however long he's going to be there, I think he's going to remember this preseason and the fact that Timothy Weah is capable.
We certainly wouldn't find him underrating young American talent, given what he was able to pull from Christian Pulisic, Dortmund these last couple of years. There's Weah. He's drawn a penalty, and now he's created some space, sends it in front. have a second bite of the apple.
Again, a good ball there, good pace. It's just very good defending from Bellerin coming in inside, as fullbacks often need to do in that situation. Just tucking in there, and in a way, a desperate tackle, because it was once again Nkunku just ready to pounce on that. All it needed was a touch. Look at that defending. Excellent from Bellerin.
Well, it begins.
There you go, Mike. This one's for you. And it's all good. It's about that time. I was anticipating that as well.
The whole convoy. Well, for Arsenal, certainly with the new manager, pieces being shifted around. We've certainly seen it with Aubameyang moving between the left-hand side and center forward. But different players, how they play together, young players, new faces. This gives them a good opportunity to get a better idea of what they've got.
It absolutely does, but that's what preseason's all about. You're going to see younger players come in a little bit before the game. You always make that decision, especially in the preseason. Certain players you want to have them go 60, 70, 75 minutes, depending on their individual fitness, because it's different than in the old days when I played, right? Everybody was sort of expected to have same levels of fitness. I think managers now and the coaches understand that you have to treat players individually, and they know exactly what they need in order to be 100% ready for the season.
Mesut Ozil sees his way off, the 29-year-old German. You mentioned the captain's armband being significant, and I think scoring a goal for his mentality will do a lot to help him turn the page.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was intentional. Who knows who the captain is going to be during the season right now. Probably Cristiano would be, but we all know that injuries had in May, of course. Rupture the Achilles at his age. Who knows what that means, when he's going to come back. When he does come back, how ready is he going to be? Certainly not a young player as well. That's why you see some movement, Mavropanos, and of course Socrates coming in. You still have Rob Holding, Chambers. Big season for them, or maybe even a big preseason for those two young players to see if they find themselves in the pecking order. There may be some movement on that front, because they're now 4 or 5 deep in that position.
And there were players left home who were talking about trying to make sure they were on the roster, didn't want to be loaned out. Just by being here, that's half the battle. Trying to impress this new manager. It's worth noting, Ramsey was the captain in their initial ICC game here in Singapore, a 1-1 draw against Atletico. Let's talk about trying to create a list of 4 or 5 different players capable of that honor.
Emil Smith Rowe is in. Very impressive in that first game, right? You remember that goal that he scored? Absolutely outstanding. Another young player. He's going to try to take advantage of this to stay in the mind of Unai Emery.
Smith Rowe, 18 years old today. And dealing with a blister that kept him out of training, which is no one's idea of a good time.
Glad you mentioned that, because I was just going to call him a 17-year-old player.
PSG started with their 6 teenagers. Arsenal will almost assuredly finish with them.
PSG squad much smaller because of the absence of the key players. So many of them, of course, played in the World Cup, still on vacation.
Service out in front, off the crossbar and in. Lacazette. Well, the Frenchman sticking it to Paris Saint-Germain. It's 2-1.
He's claiming it. Want to see it again, see if that perhaps may have been an own goal, although maybe he gets there first. But again, that ball playing wide, good delivery with good pace on it. All it needed was a touch. Doesn't really matter where it came from, that touch as well. But he's smiling, so he likes it. That tells me that he was the one. Although when I was watching it, I wasn't 100% sure. Let's see. Smith Rowe comes in, and Lassana Diarra was there, but this is going to be a great look. I still don't want to take it away from him. Yeah, he does get that. Again, all you wanted is a touch, just a little bit of a redirection right there. Again, Emil Smith Rowe making an impact immediately. That's what you want from young players, but that's what you want from your substitutes as well, even in a friendly match.
Giovanni Lo Celso coming on. Rabiot on his way out. Bahebek has come in as well.
Well, a little bit more experience, especially with Lo Celso, who were in that star-studded lineup last season towards the end, played a significant role, actually played very, very well. So it'll be interesting to get a look at him. Bahebek, maybe not the most experienced player, but still, we saw him last year in this competition as well.
Saw there Lacazette last year, 14 goals, led the way. Nkunku has come out, having the PSG goal in the 60th minute. Bahebek and Lo Celso coming in for the Paris side. Tonight, ESPN is your home for a triple header in the International Champions Cup. And there's a chance opening up for Arsenal, and held by Buffon. Well, 5 Eastern, Manchester United hosting Liverpool. Bayern Munich, Man City at 7 Eastern and 11 Eastern. Barcelona, Tottenham. So Ramsey really found himself through.
Yeah, he just got ahead of himself just a little bit, almost as if he got a little bit excited and got ahead of the ball right there. But again, Lacazette, good awareness from him, because that was a difficult ball over the top. With back to goal, didn't have a lot of options right there. You can see just heading that ball down into the path of Aaron Ramsey, and again going over the top, which I think is significant, because that's much different than we've seen Arsenal in the past. It's been very, very frequent in this match, just trying to take advantage of Paris Saint-Germain not being organized. A little bit of an isolation there, and Aaron Ramsey missing a very good opportunity there.
I think Guendouzi getting a pretty significant amount of time here. That'll skip out, corner on the way.
I think that's a reward for Guendouzi for playing extremely well. I'd like to think that with the squad that they have, usually when it matters, it's an easy one for a manager, right? You pull the young kid out, but he's played well.
Chip to Ramsey, who heads it up, punched away Buffon. The follow is in. Arsenal's made it 3.
Lacazette again, exactly the people that you want to be on the end of things, right? I didn't think that ball from Ramsey was particularly very good, right? Because I thought that he needed to head that across with a little bit of power so somebody can get on the end of it. Just looked it up there, and certainly PSG did not deal well with that one as the ball goes over the top. Watch Ramsey here. Not that he can generate a lot of power. You got to put in the dangerous area. Gigi Buffon's been spotless so far. Certainly that's not the one that he's going to remember, because he's got to do much, much better with that. A big man coming out like this, he's got to claim that for sure. But look at the awareness from Lacazette as well. Doesn't have a lot to look at, does he? Off the post right there. He's got to squeeze that in. And speaking of composure right there on a header, that's not always easy, Mike.
Nketiah was right on the goal line too, but this is, for now, Lacazette's goal is second. And Arsenal in Premier League play with those 14 goals. He scored 91 in his 4 years for Lyon. And just another French number 9 for Arsenal.
Well, you know, with the change of the manager, you know, there's a clean slate, as we often talk about. But let's see, because Lacazette is feeling it right now.
A little reverse, gets it back. Wonderful stretch of passing that breaks down with Nelson charging up.
Too much to sacrifice Nelson in that situation. There you have it. More subs for you, Mike.
Cheers. Yeah. Gigi Buffon, replaced by Sébastien Sebois.
As we were talking, Mike, about the clean slate for Arsenal, I think it's a different opportunity as well because Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Lacazette getting a full season, right? Certainly high expectations, but the preparation for them has been different under a new manager as well. It's I think they're going to enjoy that because it's easy to say that players have to assimilate immediately, but we all know that's not always all that easy. Some can, and some just need a little bit more time. So I think for this Arsenal team, there's maybe a little bit less pressure with that change that we've talked about so much that finally has happened. It certainly will be, it seems to me, a positive. A little bit different Arsenal. I also like the way they responded here, right? I mean, they dominated the game for the most part. 1-0 up. PSG coming into the game, equalizing. No panic whatsoever from Arsenal.
Well, don't look now, but Guendouzi made a bit of a name for himself. The Arsenal Twitter account making note that he was pretty well talked about in that first half.
Well, I mean, you still have to prove it on the pitch. As we've mentioned, didn't look shy. A sort of player that wanted to take responsibility. Didn't hide in any way. Very much a distributor in the first half with some wonderful looks.
So both teams dipping as expected as deep as they can into their bench. And yet he's still here, Diarra. This will break down. Let's take a look at the Own the Save tracker. It's brought to you by Ally. Gigi Buffon making his way off the field. Finishes 4 saves in his second ICC game. Arsenal a couple of saves of their own, and one coming from Martinez in the second half. Another burned Leno in the opening half. Slid away from Zagreb. It hadn't crossed, and Lacazette doesn't get credit for that one. And you saw that, well, you're saying it was an own goal, so Lacazette.
Yeah, I suppose technically.
Ushers 2 across the line, but gets credit for neither.
Yeah, it's ICC, it's preseason. I'm giving this one to Lacazette. But statistically speaking, I suppose you have to do what you have to do. Arsenal, again, won't care how that went in and who ultimately put it away. Again, the build-up to it was pretty good. The fact that Lacazette reacted the way he reacted was even better, because you got to sniff that out, sniff out a mistake. Sometimes by staying there and looking for it, you might get a reward, and that's exactly what happened, because normally you don't think that Gigi Buffon is going to leave that up there, right?
Turned over. Side. And Zagreb, still more for PSG. Can they get back into this? Zagreb lost it between his feet.
That's the beauty of Lo Celso, isn't it? That little ball, we've talked about him. Now you can call him one of the most experienced players on this pitch for sure. But again, that look was absolutely wonderful from Lo Celso to find Zagreb. There he is again on the ball.
For Celso. He does have it taken off his foot. Ball didn't find Nelson. PSG beginning to swarm a bit now. Well, Zagreb didn't feel that pressure coming. Diarra knocked off the ball. It appears he's moved into that more familiar holding midfield role. Oh, lobbed over the back line. Chance now, way up. Sneak in.
Couple of mistakes there from Bellerin. First of all, he was last in that line, right? If he took another step, I think he kept him way onside to begin with, realized that, panic a little bit, of course, misjudged that cross, allowed it to bounce, and that bounce certainly caused him problems. Look at that. I mean, if he steps up, Tim Weah's offside, everybody else did. And a rare mistake from Bellerin, because he is experienced enough not to make that mistake. This is around the time, Mike, where you kind of lose a little bit of rhythm, right? I mean, more players coming for PSG. It seems that they took over. I think the score dictates that a little bit, right? Arsenal making a lot of changes as well. Feel somewhat comfortable with that 3-1. Something that Unai Emery probably won't like. No managers like that. They feel that no matter how many changes they make, you've got to keep your shape. The philosophy should be in place, so no matter who comes in to the game and whatever position that may be, they should keep that rhythm, but easier said than done, of course. It looks to me that in the last 10 minutes, Paris Saint-Germain just a little bit better.
Weah comes off, having just narrowly missed his potential swan song. That's a foul. MLS on ESPN, presented by Audi, continues tonight, 9 Eastern, Sporting Kansas City, hosting FC Dallas from Children's Mercy Park. Sunday, 5 Eastern on ESPN. The Seattle Sounders